get ourselves locked in our places, operate within certain circumference, which is your home, and then live a healthy life. I have joining me in the studio now, the ladies already told you they are all seated here. It's not going to be an interview, so to speak. It's going to be a conversation, and you see we are maintaining our social distances. All right, to my right here is Dr. Adeze. All right, she's an expert in public health. Nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, you feel well. Now they say you should always ask people
how you're feeling. Yes.
Because you care. Yes. And I know you're okay. And we have Ruth Dumade joining us. Ruth is also a health expert and a life coach. Nice to have you join us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. All right. A lot of people, somebody sent me something this morning, social media, and it was a bit funny. But then there was a lot of message to me. Actually, it was Suleiman that sent that to me this morning. Somebody was being interviewed, and the person was asked, what is quarantine? And he didn't know what it was. In fact, he gave it his own native language interpretation. He says, quara is cough, and tin is tea. So it means tea that you drink when you have cough.
Yes.
So, and...
to his understanding.
That's his understanding. Now, it got me thinking, when we say self-isolate, quarantine, what do we actually mean?
Okay, so quarantine is a technical term, and what it means is having an individual kept away for observation purposes, away from the general public. So the process of quarantine is the quarantine period is usually stipulated based on the understanding of the period when an individual would have been infected with an organism, or in this case a virus, and when we expect that symptoms would have started to manifest. So usually that quarantine period is a period of observation when you're observing the individual for the onset of any symptoms or signs, and there may be tests also carried out within that period.
Okay, now we have also heard the word self-isolate. Does it mean the same thing?
Okay, so the difference here is that in the isolation period, you may not be tested.
Okay.
You are not being actively observed. But it's a guideline, it's an advisory. Keep away from the public.
Okay.
So the outward manifestations, if you like, of both are similar. It's just that in the quarantine period, the person is being actively observed by experts and being in contact with those who are monitoring the symptoms, the onset of any symptoms or signs, and possibly carrying out tests to confirm the presence of the infection.
And the other one is you're at home and you're the one doing the job yourself,
yes,
of monitoring yourself.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Now, a lot of people, that's from the medical ground.
Yeah.
I know you're a life coach, and a lot of questions have actually come up around self-isolation. When people are doing self-isolation, what does it mean in their psyche?
Well, when people are self-isolating, it means a lot for a lot of people, especially as it relates to people's personality and temperament. There are some persons, naturally, they love self-isolating. They just love being indoors because they are introverted.
Not me.
Why there are some persons, they are extroverted. In fact, those people self-isolation means it's a big deal for them. So that is what people, for some persons, they take it calmly. Why for some other persons, they don't find it easy. However, because of the situation on ground, everyone now knows the importance, whether you're an extroverted person or introverted person. Because of your well-being, you just have to do it. Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, what are the possible things people can do, in self-isolation?
Yeah, there are a lot of things. In fact, if you go all through social media, you will see 1,001 things. You see, some persons just decide that this period is time for me to develop my capacity as it relates to academics. Some persons have not studied for a long time. So this period for some persons is, I can see several free online courses. So let me just use this opportunity to study. Why some persons, they've not rested in a long while. So some persons say, this period for me is ready. You wouldn't know how you need rest until situation comes. And some persons right now, they're just saying, is that why I've been very aggressive? Is that why I've been so sad? Right now, I'm so relaxed, I'm calm. Even some of us, our children, our family members, you have this good side because you are well rested. Why some other persons, they do the exercise thing, very important for our mental health. You just keep walking. Why self-isolating? Some person just pick their phone to give a call to someone. Do you know there are some persons that their phone hardly rings?
Oh,
That alone is a challenge for some persons. But this period, phones are ringing. Phones are
I get
ringing.
more messages, really.
Yes,
I get more
messages are dropping.
People have time.
Sometimes you're alone. You just feel, I'm alone in this world. But sometimes you just see message dropping, calls coming. In fact, some people are really enjoying the moment this period. But I hope this character continues.
And that's why even if you listen to the WHO, there's a lot of emphasis on, okay, it's not really social distancing, but physical distancing. Because we still have to emphasize that those social connections are important. And we still need to connect with others, make a call to somebody, find out how they're doing, send a message, I'm just checking up on you. Those are the kinds of things that we should emphasize now, so that even though people are physically distant, they still have that human social connection with others that helps with well-being.
This thing you're saying, a lot of times people think to connect, some people are alarmists. The only message they send you is, this person has died. This person has done this. So what kind of messages should we be passing on to our friends, our family members as about now to cheer them up?
So the kinds of messages that we should be concentrating on are messages of love, messages of hope, messages that convey positivity. So this is not the time. Already we are in an uncertain situation. There's a lot of fear around. So sending a message about fear, panic is not going to, in fact, it's going to make the situation worse. So what we need to do is emphasize the fact that we're all in this together. Send that message of love, of hope, of positivity, that we know that we're going to come out of this eventually stronger, better people. And you my sister Ruth here said, there are people who don't receive messages, and then just imagine the power of sending a positive message to that person. That already fuels the person, and that energy that comes from positivity also has beneficial effects on our immunity. So you then have people who are better able to even confront the virus in the event that they're infected. That's the power of positive messaging.
You actually made a good point there, because for one, when I am down, I don't like to mix up. Down by way of health, I don't like to mix up, because the more I talk, the more I get tired. So I always feel, okay, I should stay indoor. If I rest a day or two, I'll be good. But then, resting a day or two, I don't want calls. But I so much enjoy the text messages, the WhatsApp messages, the funny videos. I don't want to hear how many people are dying, how many people are hungry. I want to see happy people. And if I get those things coming, they have a way of, making the medicine I take actually work faster. So I think we should actually cash in more on that. But another thing I noticed, yesterday we opened our lines for people to share with us what they are doing for the lockdown period, and I still insist, you can send us your stories, what special activities you're doing during this lockdown period. But then I noticed a lot of Nigerians were sending us messages about hunger. And I thought I should tell them that we actually waste food. As about now, people went around, bought in bulk, stock up their homes. So there is extra milk, there's extra eba, there's extra soup. What can we do, Ma'am Ruth, to ensure that we don't waste food at this period?
In fact, I just hope this can work for some persons because of the power failure. Because some of us have bought things that are perishable. I remember when I was about stocking the house, I received a call from my mother-in-law. Make sure you don't buy things that are perishable, buy dry things. things like egusi. So she would just say, dry pepper. Make sure your meat is well fried. So these are the things, you see, as simple as those words were, they were wisdom. Because you cannot trust if there will be power or something may just happen to your transformer or something.
The NEPA has actually improved.
Yeah, they have actually improved.
They have actually improved.
Do you understand? So this period, for you not to be wasteful, just fry and keep things dry. Don't get things that are, you know that with or without power they can. And moreover, for us not to be wasteful, have your timing, your feeding timing planned. Because sometimes, because we are bored, we are idle, we just want to pick on this, pick on that, and sometimes we become very wasteful. At the end of the day, we just say, food has finished. I just got it which day. At the end of the day, you find out that you were actually wasting a lot of meal during the period because you were indoors. So much activity. Because in fact, I found out that staying even indoors, especially with children, is more expensive. Yeah, actually, it's more expensive
because they want to.
Every moment they are
telling me.
Sometimes I ask them, did you swallow something?
And because they are playing and they are so active,
yeah,
so they're not outside in school or in the playground or wherever. So now all that energy is being expended in the home, and they need to replace it immediately. And you know, children are impatient. You know, this thing you said about timing is very interesting because there's something called the 20-minute rule.
Yeah.
When you feel like snacking or eating something, just wait for 20 minutes. In that 20 minutes, maybe walk around, watch something on, maybe watch Weekend Deal, do something, and see if you're still feeling that hungry after 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If 20 minutes looks like 2 hours.
For some persons.
For some people, it will be like 2 hours. So if within that 20 minutes you've forgotten that you wanted to snack on something, then it wasn't really hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there. Yeah. You're right there. Now, if we have overnight food, we've talked about Lassa fever. I need you to speak on that because a lot of people will cook extra now and leftovers. How do we ensure that number one is not wasted, number two is hygienically preserved?
So depending on what the food is, we know the kinds of foods that we can leave out and the kinds of foods we need to keep in refrigeration. Just make sure that whatever food it is properly stored in terms of kept in a sealed container or in a tied sack. Because the important thing with protecting that food is ensuring that in the event that you have a visiting rat, it wouldn't get access to the food. But then if we're able to make sure that our environments are clean, we're not spreading food outside that would attract these rats into the home, then you really don't have anything to worry about. Because Lassa fever, the risk is increased when the environments are dirty and not hygienically kept. So that's another good thing with the season that we're in, because there's that emphasis on cleanliness, on hygiene, and those things do dissuade the attraction of the home to the rodents.
That's a good one. Speaking about the season, I actually admire this period because a lot of times families don't have time to bond. I need you to speak on family bonding about this time because a lot of mothers are working almost 12 hours and we don't get to groom our children the right way. What should fathers be doing about this point? I posted something earlier. I said this is time for mothers to look inward and train their children. And I stressed, not just the girl child. Teach your boy child, teach your girl child how to cook. Because some bachelors now are crying because they can't cook. And I blame their moms.
Yeah.
Okay,
that reminds me. I just remember the story about in 1989 at somewhere around San Francisco. There was this earthquake that shook that region. That several bridges, buildings collapsed because of that earthquake. And they found out that most of those bridges weren't built according to the building code of that nation. So when the earthquake came, it broke down several systems and structures that is applicable to the home front. When certain structures are not put in place, when strains, stress, pressure comes, you will actually know how well or how unwell or unhealthy your family is. So this period, for some persons that probably have missed it along the way due to activities, due to work pressure, due to family of origin, different things that have made some people lost sight of what they actually should be doing. This is the time for fathers and mothers to sit down. Parents, let's readjust our life. Let's replan and re-strategize. What have we been doing well? We take it down. What have we not been doing well? We take it down. What do we think we need this season going forward when life starts normal again? We take it down. Then we leave that and go to our children. You sit down with them, you negotiate this. At the age as they are growing, things change, life cycle change. Don't think the rule that you had when they were 5 years old is going to be working. In fact, right now, some parents don't know that their children have actually grown. Seriously. Everybody is seeing that their children are growing. They are the ones not seeing their children are growing. So some parents right now, they are finding it difficult because they thought the rules of don't do this, it's not working. We have to sit down and set the rule this time around. Definitely. Okay, the rules, the regulation, the reward. If you do this, this is what you get or this is what you lose. This is the period family should start putting such structure, because you see, earthquake has blown. The system that you thought was holding your family because you were not always around is now showing that you have not really been doing so much. Now, I want to still talk about some persons as single parents. Now, a lot of single parents face a lot of castigation. Some people are single parents not because they choose to. Some of them is because life experience, bereavement. Some person unhealthy marital relationship, they couldn't cope. Some out of rape. I know some rape. They were raped and they were pregnant. They have the children. So most of them have had this life of walking. Let me be loved. Let me be accepted. Let me be approved by people. This is the time for such group of parents. They know they are lone parents. They have to do this thing. Talk to their children. This is the journey we have alone. All right. Everything you have to do, let's do it to be better together. Definitely. You are not having a father or a mother. This is the reason, especially when you know they are due for such conversation. This is when you start communicating. They understand. Definitely. They know. Yes, they know. So no matter what you think, you are assuming that it's too early. They know. In fact, if you don't start talking to them now, the society will talk to them. Definitely. People will talk to them. Definitely. So it's high time we start taking and maximizing the opportunity we have to bond, to unlearn, learn, and relearn to go forward. So
I remember the one of the newspaper captions we read this morning by the Cardinal Okoje. He said, this lockdown is actually, to a large extent, a blessing in disguise. I think in view of that, we call it the blessing for family. Seated with me, I know that Talatu Ezike is somewhere at the Pro Cathedral. When she's ready for us, we'll join her and take some questions. I told you earlier, it's Palm Sunday, and she'll be telling us what is happening there live. But for now, we will continue with our discussion. But some questions are coming in. Let's quickly take some. And this person didn't write his name. Okay, he says, good morning, ma'am and doctor. My name is Francis. I am 12 years old. I am concerned with social distancing. How can I measure the meters between myself and others? Doctor, let me leave it for you.
Okay, so when we say social distancing, or like I like to say physical...
I have a measurement tape here.
Physical,
in case.
Physical distancing. So we say it's about 2 meters, which is approximately 6 feet between you and the next person. So if we use this measuring tape as an example, 1.5 of this should be sufficient distance between you and the next person. Okay. Or for an individual who's 6 feet, imagine lying down. That gives you an approximation of that 6 feet between you and the next person. And there was something that was highlighted earlier. You're seeing people, because of this period, they're exercising, they're jogging, but they're jogging in groups or they're walking in groups 3 to 4. That is wrong because you're very close together. So if one of your co-exercisers is not symptomatic but has the infection, all of you can get it because you're quite close together, from the talking, the maybe any sneezing or anything, and any of the other three could have contact with the droplets that can cause infection. So that's why this physical distancing is important. So if we're looking at this tape now, 1.5 of it is sufficient distance between you and the next person in any gatherings or in any public place.
All right, so doctor just explained that if you have this kind of tape, this is the regular tape in our homes, the measurement tape. If you have it, if you measure 1.5, automatically you've actually acquired the kind of distance you need between you and a person if you want to stay off from the person if he has it, and of course if you two want to avoid, dashing somebody. All right, good morning to all of you. Sir, I am told the virus is not a living organism. Please explain the difference between virus and bacterial. Thank you. That's from Aliyu in Maiduguri, Borno State. Doctor, I guess I'll leave that for you.
Okay, so there are different categories of infective organisms. Now, the virus it's actually a living organism. It's not a non-living organism. It's just that it has a limit to how long it can stay viable or living outside of a host. For the bacterial organisms, they tend to stay longer. And that's why the mechanisms through which they are treated are different. Because the treatments for bacterial organisms, which are the antibiotics that you know, are not generally effective against viruses because they have a different physical structure, they have a different life cycle. So the virus is different in terms of how long it stays and how its physical structure is. So that's the difference between the virus and the bacteria, and that's why you say, oh, if you give antibiotics with a viral infection, it's not going to work, because those particular physical structures that the bacteria has, that the antibiotic works on, the virus doesn't have them. And then the virus relies on getting and attaching to structures within the human body or the host's body, which could be an animal, and then using the structure of that host to then further grow and further affect the functioning of the body. So the virus actually needs the cells of the body to
be able to function.
To be able to
That's
function.
interesting. Now, let me take this to Ruth. My name is Musa Lasisi. We are to keep social distance. That's a good one. Please advise me, given a family of 5 children under the same roof, how do we do that? We have to make that brief so we can join the mass.
Okay, yes. Social distance within your family. I'm sure for the past 5-7 days you've been alone. You've been indoors with your family. There is nothing that has been happening. It is only when you know that this your family member either was not in the country, either has been living carelessly despite all information, so you can start applying. But when you're at home with your family together, let's do a social and physical distance together and make it fun. Because when you're at home, except you know that this person has been at risk, then you can apply the social distancing while you're indoor.
You know what you're saying now. Each time I go out, I still come to work anyway. Once I'm coming in, as I park my door, my children get the disinfectant wipes.
Yeah.
And wipe my door handle, wipe
because
everything.
you're at risk. You've
Yes,
been going
because-
out.
So, and the worst part is they won't even let me. As I'm coming out, they're carrying the spray as well. They're like,
That's
"Mommy,
it.
wait, we're going to have to spray you."
That's it.
They give me water, they give me everything. I wash my hand before I go into the house. But I think Talatu is almost ready for us. If I can see Talatu, we told you earlier that we will be going to the Pro Cathedral for the Mass, the Palm Sunday Mass by the Catholic Bishop of.
Okay,
then we can't see you. So we'll quickly move in to take more of the questions. Now, people will know the importance of saving for the rainy days. That's from Carol in Warri. Thank you very much. He says people should have been learning to save money. And what do you think Nigerians could do to eradicate the issue of money, especially we that are working? I wish people can learn to abbreviate less so we can quickly read their messages. Someone says, yeah, good morning, doctor. My question is this. Is it true that coronavirus no catch somebody who has group O? I think his blood group O. Yes, it means to say.
No. The coronavirus has no limitations whatsoever on who is going to infect in terms of blood group, race, genotype, socioeconomic status,
gender,
marital status,
gender,
and gender.
I've heard that women are not as allergic as men.
No. So that may have even a reason because there was a study done in South Korea on infected cases in South Korea, and they discovered that the women were not having as severe and critical illness as the men. But then when they went further down to find out why, they saw that there was a higher proportion of men who were smokers and therefore who were higher at risk than the women. So it wasn't because they were women. It was because they were less likely to have been long-time smokers and therefore have risk of lung conditions that would have further worsened their status, having been infected with the coronavirus. So it wasn't because they were female or because they were male. It was down to risk.
That's good to know. Lifestyle is very important here. Ruth, now, at the time when HIV broke out, we had a lot of problem with stigmatization. And I see it beginning to raise head now, the ugly head. How do we get to, Nigeria has discharged 25? That's good news. And I know that by the end of today, we'll have more because that's what I dream for. How do we begin to, assimilate these people in our society without stigmatization?
Wow. Stigmatization is a big deal, especially when it comes to this. This morning before I came here, I watched an elderly woman in the US. She's 90 years and she was able to conquer, and she was a survivor of this virus. I saw her family hugging her, pecking her. They were all over her as at age 90. Now I would want to beg every Nigerian and everyone that is hearing us right now, let us learn how to love on people despite their history. Let's try to love on people despite their stories. Let's try to love on people despite their affliction or pain. Let's try to just love on people genuinely, because it's in that love you see some people that have gone through the trauma of the crisis itself. Can stand strong, because going through the virus infection is as hard as the trauma itself too. One is the physical one, another is the psychological one. So what we need to do for people is just to love on them. Show them love, show them kindness, no matter when. And I'm sure probably some people are saying, they say they've discharged a lot of people. Where are they? Who are they? I'm sure these are
scared
probably,
of coming out.
Probably
They're
the issues why
out.
people don't want to come out because of stigmatization. Oh, this person that, you're not clean. Oh, do you understand? And people have enough to deal with to not add that to their pressure. I'm sure some of the persons that might have gone through that have survived, probably when they're emotionally healed and psychologically healed and mentally healed, they'll be able to share their stories for people to now know how to handle them better.
It's also why in the West, when you see people like Prince Charles, people like Boris Johnson, the actor Idris Elba, Tom Hanks and the wife, when they come out to say we tested positive, it's not just that they just want to announce that they tested positive. There's an underlying message. They're sending a message to the general public that look at us who are influencers, who are role models in society, but we have been infected, which means anybody can be infected. And that sends a message that if people who are being looked up to can't get this infection, that means anybody can get it. And so we, like you said, it's important that we have that empathy, that realization that this is something that can happen to any one of us, and therefore show love and show that kindness.
All right, show that kindness, and I take that as a key word while we move down to Benue to find out what your situation is with COVID-19. You must keep to rules and regulations by the law, by the health, by everybody around you, and that way we live a longer life. And we've had amazing ladies with us today. We still have more in stock, but let me quickly thank Dr. Adeze, a family physician and my senior colleague. So, and I also thank Ruth Dumade, a family clinician and mind coach, a lot of things put together. It's been quite interesting having you on the set. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll take a break. When we come back, we have still to come a psychiatrist who will be talking about the psychological effects